Hello and welcome. I'm Blair Blackwell, and this is the Daily Market Brief. Let's catch up on what's moving in markets today. Good morning. It's Tuesday, January 6th, and this is your London Open Prep. Two themes at the top. The US dollar is on the back foot as risk sentiment steadies, while Japan's bond sell-off pushes yields to multi-decade highs and keeps pressure on the yen. And Europe's inflation updates are back in focus. Starting with currencies and metals, the Australian dollar is firmer as the US dollar struggles, with traders eyeing Australia's November inflation print tomorrow. The greenback is softer elsewhere too, with the dollar slipping against the Swiss franc and the Indian rupee after a recent run of safe haven demand eased. Meanwhile, gold is holding near a one-week high and silver is extending gains for a second day, a sign that the blend of a softer dollar and lingering geopolitical caution is still supporting the precious complex. Japan remains the macro story to watch. The sell-off in government bonds is rolling into the new year, with yields around the highest levels since the late 1990s. That backdrop, plus uncertainty over the Bank of Japan's next steps and fresh fiscal ambitions in Tokyo, is weighing on the currency. Yen crosses are reflecting it, with the pound-yen at multi-year highs and the euro-yen bid as traders lean into the idea that BOJ normalization may be slow and uneven, but sensitive to growth risks. In Europe, inflation data is back on the menu. State-level figures in Germany run through the morning before the national preliminary print later, and France is expected to show a soft headline pace. The broader read is that the European Central Bank remains on hold, with policymakers watching a still sticky core and the possibility of stagflation pressure in Germany. Equity futures point to a firmer open as global sentiment improves following developments around Venezuela's leadership. And the euro-pound is treading water ahead of the data. On the geopolitical side, unrest in Iran is deepening amid ongoing economic strains, adding another strand of uncertainty to the Middle East picture. And in energy, India's Reliance is denying reports it has Russian crude heading to its Jamnagar refinery, a reminder that the flow of sanctioned barrels remains opaque and closely watched. Turning to market tone, a softer dollar and steadier risk backdrop are broadly supportive for equities and commodities, while they tend to weigh on the dollar pairs and keep yen crosses elevated. Precious metals look underpinned, with gold and silver benefiting from currency moves and a still cautious macro setting. Looking ahead, keep an eye on German state consumer price updates through the morning and the national preliminary figures later, alongside the French release. Survey readings in Europe are also on the radar, and Australia's inflation print arrives tomorrow, which could set the tone for the Aussie. What I'll be watching today: the Australian dollar against the US dollar, looking for an uptrend to persist into tomorrow's inflation data if risk sentiment holds. Pound yen and euro yen, watching for continued upside while Japan's yields stay elevated and BOJ uncertainty lingers. The dollar against the Swiss franc, where the trend looks softer as safe haven demand for the dollar fades. Gold and silver, watching for follow-through on the bid if the dollar remains under pressure. And crude sensitivity to any headlines around India-Russia flows or Venezuela. The takeaway? Risk appetite is firmer, but the mix of Japan's bond repricing and Europe's inflation path keeps the backdrop balanced between opportunity and caution. That's it for today's edition of the Daily Market Brief. Thanks for listening. I'm Blair Blackwell. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice, trading recommendations, or investment guidance.